vacation tonight. That's what I'm going to do for my birthday. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
And a special hello to a guest with us here in the Anxiety Chamber. She is somebody I occasionally bring in to make me sound smarter on YouTube and television. Definitely done that a few times. She is also a neurophysiologist, a science communicator, the host of This Week in Science, Dr. Kiki Sanford. Hey, Kiki.
Woo! Hello.
How have you been? It's been a while.
I know. You know, I'm dealing. I'm making it go. Putting one foot in front of the other. You know,
it only took us 600 plus episodes of our award-winning science podcast to have an actual scientist on the show. Look at us.
It's not that we've been avoiding it, Jeff. It's that we've got it handled so well.
Yes.
So handled.
Otherwise, we
Who
would
needs
not
a
have
scientist on a science show? What?
We would not have won so many awards. As an award-winning science podcast, as an Apple editorial choice for science, Jeff. Do we really need a scientist here week to week? I would say no.
This is the episode where I finally discover embarrassment?
This is the episode where we bring it all crashing down around us. We decided we were going to nuke the show, and this was how we were going to do it.
No, we're delighted to have you here. Big fans of everything you do, and I'm so excited to talk actual science.
I am excited to be able to talk actual science with you both. This is thrilling for me. Yay!
Well, let me start things off with a story that was submitted to us by a listener of the show, Jeff Engelstein, who also happens to be a friend. Awesome dude, board game designer.
Getting close to a nickname.
Well, he actually called us out because he signed this submission, Jeff No Nickname Engelstein, which I feel like is a call out.
But that's not. But see, he's not allowed to use that because we already have somebody whose nickname is No Nickname.
Right. I don't think he was saying his nickname is No Nickname. I think he was merely pointing out that he has no nickname.
Well, that makes me, listen, you know that I'm a petulant child. I'm an enfant terrible, and now I don't want to give him a nickname. And now I'm going to say that, Engelstein, I need 5 to 10 more stories from you.
Wow, 5 to 10?
Because of the attitude. You're going to need to be at Stephen Badgery levels now before I even give you a nickname.
Moly.
That's what you did to yourself.
Be that as it may, this story I find fascinating. It is of our time, and it is also a hearkening back to many years of interesting studies and data. This refers to a New York Times article in early July about what's going on in the pandemic, in the quarantine. We know that here in America, we're kind of on the verge of starting back some sporting events. Baseball just started. NBA is about to start.
We all feel great about this. Here in America, we all feel 100% great about this. We are not scared. We are not terrified. We do not get the howling fantods when we walk by a restaurant and see that there are people inside of it. We're good. America's not just good. We're feeling great. We're feeling healthy, and we are not emotionally scarred at all.
Right.
We are ready for the sports.
So we don't happen to be the first sporting leagues to return. That distinction happened in Germany on May 16th. The Bundesliga, which is a soccer, or as they call it, football league, returned and started playing games way back in May. And this is a study about how playing to empty stands, which is what everybody's doing now all over the world. We're not bringing people into stadiums anymore to sit next to one another and cheer for the home team.
What's the over/under that one of our professional sports leagues lets people in? What do you think?
You think?
And which sport do you think is the most likely?
Oh, geez. I think football.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
That's the most rah-rah USA sport, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Well, they were also talking about
and
potentially
they're tough,
just like,
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're tough. It's
the manly sport.
It's the manly sport. All of those head injuries are good. They're thinking straight. They're thinking clear, and they're saying let the people back into the stands. But the NFL was the league that was talking about having people sign a waiver. They're like, yeah, you can come, but you can just sign a waiver that says if you get sick, it's not our fault.
That's the American way.
Your choice.
That's the American way. Sign away your rights, and everything will be fine.
Everything will be fine for us. So they're playing to empty stadiums.
Playing to empty stadiums in the Bundesliga, and have been for over a month now. And they collect a lot of data in the Bundesliga about the performance of teams, the performance of individual players. And some people have been looking at that
Collecting data is actually another professional sport in Germany.
In Germany, it sure is.
You can watch the Bundesliga game, or you can turn to the next channel on the dial, and it's the data scientists watching the Bundesliga game, and you can watch how they collect data and cheer for them. That's how Germany works.
That's how Germany is.
Yeah.
They root for trains being on time. They root for spreadsheets. So here's the interesting tidbit that this New York Times article goes into, and that is, we think of sports and sports teams having a home field advantage, and there's been lots of studies to indicate that they do. And it turns out that when you play in front of empty stands, you no longer have a home field advantage.
Sure.
In fact, there's a huge decrease in performance. Teams had fewer goals, took fewer shots. The shots they took were less accurate. Everything was down at least 10% and sometimes even more.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So this is very interesting to me because, like, yeah, of course. I always thought that home field, home court advantage, all that stuff was because of the psychology of people are screaming one way or the other, and you definitely want them cheering. You know what I mean? Like, I've often found the idea of, and I guess this shouldn't be so alien to me because I've been on stages live and stuff like that, and I know that you feed off an audience, but I can't fathom being on a field and, like, trying to play while 20,000 people are booing you, you know? Like, how do you do it?
Well, I mean, I think more often it's people cheering, you doing good things.
Not home field, but I'm talking when you're like away.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the home court advantage, right? Is like they're cheering for everything you do because you're on the home team.
Right.
But you're also booing. Yeah, the other team.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting question. There's obviously this psychological improvement based on the home fans that are pumping you up and making you want to perform better. But then how much does not having the booing affect the team that isn't that's the away team? How do they do better because nobody's booing them?
Well, they've actually noticed that teams that play away games are winning at a much higher rate than the home teams. So the home field advantage is completely not completely eliminated, but is reduced significantly, and away field advantage becomes a thing. They actually are increasing their win percentage. Yeah.
Yep.
It's wild. And Mr. Engelstein sent us a link to an older study. This dates back to the late 60s.
Whoa, Engelstein did our research for us? He said multiple links.
That's why you shouldn't have thrown him so much shade about the nickname thing,
no,
man.
I don't feel bad. Now I feel like he's just a sucker. Thanks, Engelstein, you sucker. You're never getting a nickname, and you did all our work for us.
Should be called Jeff extra work Engelstein. You know what I'm saying?
Nope, that's a nickname.
You can just call him the research dude.
All of these are nicknames, and I have to veto all of them. What is this other study?
This is a study that was done in 1969 and has actually been recently repeated to verify its veracity. And it is about taking cockroaches and putting them through mazes and seeing how well they do at finding their way through mazes. There's a lot of detail here in this. He sent me the actual scientific paper. It's quite dense and very fascinating. But the sort of 10,000 foot view here is they put cockroaches through a maze. Then they put them through a maze with someone else, with another cockroach alongside them. They did better with the other cockroach. Then they did solo cockroaches with an audience. They literally built a maze with plexiglass sides that had other cockroaches watching through the plexiglass.
With little pennants?
They had little cockroach face paint and little cockroach beverages. There was some unruly cockroaches that drank too much. Their mascot
is a dumb, bumbling scientist. And it's a cockroach that puts on like a goofy foam head and a lab coat and is just like derp, derp, derp. And the cockroaches love it.
Love it.
You should see those cockroaches do the wave. They do the wave and it's quite something to see.
They do the wave and it is terrifying. They do the wave and it looks like something out of a David Lynch movie or my nightmares.
So the takeaway here is the cockroaches did better if they had an audience, if there were other cockroaches watching them. So this is not just a human phenomenon. It seems to be something that permeates more than just our human physiology. So Kiki, I'm curious, like you're somebody that performs in front of an audience a lot.
Right.
Do you notice that in yourself? And how do you reconcile this with our physiology?
Oh, yes. Well, I think that's the interesting part is I would normally think of it as entirely psychological. But now that you're saying this is, cockroaches, people, I mean, what kind of cockroach psychology is there going on?
That's what I was wondering, right? Like,
why does the cockroach want to do better?
Ain't a lot of sense of self within a cockroach. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe there is, but it's certainly not like we have.
No, I mean, I would never attribute theory of mind to a cockroach. That is not. I would not go there.
Even if he brought a little pennant. Even if you brought a little pennant to the experiment?
Yay! Yeah. I absolutely. Live shows, absolutely, there is a difference having people there. We do our podcast live every week. I don't see the audience, but I know that there's a chat room and I'm talking to them. And so that makes a difference. And when I record stuff by myself, I have to hype myself up a bit, I'm like, okay, who am I talking to here? Do some jumping jacks, get ready, put that energy in.
You should get is like a plexiglass box full of cockroaches to watch you. And then you'll just always be hyped up.
Super normal.
I know entomologists who would love to do that. I'm not an entomologist, not necessarily a fan of cockroaches. Don't think that would work.
So if
I have that, Anthony. I call it my house. Way too many cockroaches here is what I'm saying.
No.
If you had to venture a guess, Kiki, because I'm thinking about this and I'm wondering if this is if the cockroaches are sensing positive feedback or performance pressure, and which one is more likely in a simplified brain structure. To me, it feels like it feels more fight or flighty, right?
No, for the cockroaches, what I would imagine, it's not fight or flight, but probably competition for resources. And so in the maze, they are very likely, they've got food at one end, right, where the cockroaches have to go find the food, and they're seeing these other cockroaches around them and thinking, oh, the other cockroaches might get to the food first. And so maybe that makes them scurry a little bit faster. That's what I would think that's my hypothesis.
Yeah, because they don't know that the plexiglass is there. They just know the other roaches are there.
Yeah, or or maybe they know that the plexiglass is there, but they don't know that it doesn't all go to the same food source at the end. Maybe they are all running in different lanes. They are just seeing other cockroaches, and potentially that is competition for resources.
The other thing that they did a second version of this experiment where they didn't have the visible other cockroaches there, but they pumped in the pheromones, the scent of other cockroaches to try to fool them into thinking there were other cockroaches. And that did not have the same effect as actual visible witnesses watching you, an audience.
Can we like just right here? Can we just like with pheromones? Can we like knock it off? Like, can we like knock it off? Can we like knock it off? Pheromones, like, I feel like humans have like
just because we don't respond to pheromones that much doesn't mean other animals don't.
No, but I feel like we overestimate pheromones in animals so many times for like behavior. I feel like we're just like, oh, pheromones are just as important, or they have just as powerful reaction. But like, I don't know, 9 times out of 10, whenever I read these experiments or I read these studies or these papers, it's always like, damn, who knew pheromones didn't do much? I was like, we fucking knew though, didn't we? Like, didn't we know?
Yeah. I think the question is, what exactly do pheromones do? I mean, is it, yeah, okay, who cares? I smell other cockroaches, whatever. I smell other cockroaches all the time because Jeff's house is full of them.
It's really sad truth.
Or is it, I'm a female cockroach and I smell a male cockroach and I want to run away? Or I'm a male cockroach and I smell a female and I need to go there. So, you know, what is the signal that the pheromone is, what is it triggering? What behaviors would it trigger? And if you're just pumping in a bunch of cockroach smell, does it just smell like a cockroach pizza restaurant? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I have to admit, I think I just used the term pheromones. I don't think it's actually used in this paper, but I think the idea is that they were female cockroaches and they pumped in the arousal stimuli is what the actual paper uses.
Yeah, there it is.
Arousal
Pheromones.
stimuli.
Yeah. Okay.
It's still fascinating to me because here's what it makes me think of in my own life.
It has to be the visual presence is what we're saying. It's not like I know cockroaches are around. It needs to be, they need to be in proximity. They need to be clearly there.
And here's what it made me think of in my own life is that I often I run a lot, well established on this show.
It's not a big deal.
There's no competition. There's no performance element of it. I'm not trying to get to food, but I have to admit when I'm tired and I'm running and then I run by a complete stranger. There's a complete stranger running by. I don't want to reveal that I'm exhausted. I'll run a little faster. My form will be a little tighter. I'll be a little, more into it until that person is out of view. Yeah, right? It makes no sense.
It's like that old joke. It's like that old joke of like the kid on the ground, like doing a push-up, doing like 1, and then his roommate walks in and he's like 99, 100,
Yeah. And maybe that's just vanity. Maybe that's just my own vanity, and probably it is. But it certainly reminded me that there is some element of being watched that kicks me into another mode. And I think that's certainly what we're seeing with athletes. I mean, even as much as they can cognitively process, well, there's cameras on me, people are watching, not having people physically in the stands and getting that stimuli back, there's some difference there.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference
we
between...
We all are a particle in a wave. That's just what it is.
Especially when the crowd does the wave and then I feel like a particle. It's awesome. You're saying we need to be observed. We change our behavior based on being observed. It's like a quantum particle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a difference between a friendly audience and, I won't say a non-friendly audience. I've never found myself in front of a hostile audience, but an audience that doesn't know who you are is different than a friendly audience, right? Like people who paid tickets to see you is different than being like one act at a huge event. And it does make a huge difference in the way we do everything. I mean, it's crazy that like in a completely non-social setting, social factors still completely change everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it proves that we are not only are humans completely social creatures, but a lot of creatures are social creatures.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cockroaches, very social creatures. We need to do this experiment looking at some kind of animal that's very independent and doesn't rely on social cues at all.
Yeah. What would be a great example of an independent animal?
I don't know.
I'll go in.
You'll just Anthony.
Anthony Carboni, noted independent.
Noted independent misanthrope. I will go into the maze. I think, is this what The Maze Runner is about? This is probably it, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie, but it sounds consistent.
This sounds right.
Anthony, everyone's watching you. You have to go get the caffeine. Walk to the caffeine.
But I
don't need the caffeine. I can do it without it.
I can do it without the caffeine. I don't need it anymore. I've been happily 4 days caffeine free. It's fine.
We brought in 400 people to watch you through this plexiglass box.
They're pumping coffee pheromones through the wall. That's not just coffee. That's aroused coffee. I have to get there. But I do love that, like, even at a professional level, at a high performance level, right? Like, this is top of the top, right? These are people that play in front of stadiums all the time. They have to be able to a certain extent, get rid of this and, like, block this out if they're going to perform at all. And it still, like, affects up to 10% of their performance. I think that's wild.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me, too. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, they said goalkeepers performed much better. These are the people that, block the ball coming at the goal. Mm-hmm. They performed much better in away games. They blocked the balls more effectively, more efficiently, more consistently. They said by almost every attacking metric, Bundesliga teams were worse when playing in an empty home stadium. But goalkeepers performed better away from home than they did on their own turf. The percentage
because
of shots
nobody's
saved,
yelling at them, going, "You're gonna miss the ball." Then you're just like,
that's true.
"Oh, I am. What if I do miss the ball? Oh my gosh!"
I think about that story of Michael Jordan, and, like, there was this story where, like, Michael Jordan dunked over somebody, I can't remember who it was, but dunked over somebody who was 6'1", like, seriously just dunked, like, flew and dunked over him. And somebody in the stands, because it wasn't a home game, was like, yeah, it's not that impressive. Do it over somebody taller. And so the very next play, Michael Jordan jumped over somebody who was 6'11" and dunked and ran by that fan and literally said, "Tall enough for you?"
Tall enough.
That's why I love that Jordan documentary, which is like, oh, he was just a hateful man.
This is
awesome.
He was motivated entirely by spite.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Spite will get you so far. We've been told
especially
that,
at away games.
Ooh. You gotta like, man, you gotta appreciate the people who can be equally motivated by positivity and negativity, right?
I feel like that's you in a nutshell.
No, I choke with too much positive feedback.
That's why, hey, you're welcome. That's why I never say nice things to you.
And that's why we're friends. If I literally, like, if people are too, like, rooty for me, like, I literally choke. Because for me, it's like, oh no, I'm going to let them down. If I'm in front of, like,
so you
neutral,
need that reverse psychology.
Absolutely.
You can't do it. You're not going to make it.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, you suck.
Can't.
No, you suck, Mom. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. I love you.
One more really interesting tidbit in this New York Times article that I want to run by you guys, because I think this says a lot about our idea of impartiality and sort of human fallibility. Another big data point that came out of this analysis of the Bundesliga is that in 83% of the matches analyzed, the matches that were without a home crowd, 83% of them, the home team was penalized for more fouls than they generally were when the stands were full. So the average number of fouls to the home team in the entire history of the Bundesliga compared to the games where there's no home crowd, 83% were above that average.
Is that on the players or the refs?
This is the refs penalizing the home team.
Right, but I'm saying, are they actually performing more fouls, or are the refs just, like, not getting caught up in stuff and noticing more fouls?
I think it's the latter. My intuition is it's the latter.
I would think
that,
it's
Kiki?
the latter. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like they're performing too.
Probably needing more specific study through specific questions being asked. But yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a good
see.
hypothesis.
You do that weak science. We don't do that weak science here. You do that.
You have concerns. I just have more questions.
100%
It's the zebras.
fair.
It's those refs. I knew it all along. They had it in for us. That's the reason we lost. Those refs, those zebras. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh. Refs have so much power. They do.
They do. And I think I don't know how much how much study or stuff you've read about this, Kiki, in particular, but I feel like this speaks to this idea of impartiality that I just think is a complete fabrication, right? It's not possible for humans to be objective. Is it? Do you think?
No, absolutely not. We're humans. We, your brain is formed during development. Your psychology is set a particular way by the environment that you're in, what you learn as you're growing older. And, so that's all going to apply when you come into any situation. You cannot be entirely objective. I mean, that's why we have the scientific method, so that you try and take it out of being human, right?
Yeah. It's a great point. Yeah. It's like what my dad used to always say. Life isn't fair.
It's not. Nope.
That's the takeaway.
But it's not.
That's the takeaway. That's the takeaway from the study. That's actually what they stated at the end of the paper in the results. They said life isn't fair. And they said,
it's weird.
They said life's not fair, and I'm never writing another paper again.
It was weird that they actually quoted my dad.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's really strange. Hey, folks. Just want to take a moment here before we jump into our next story to say, give us money.
Yeah, life isn't fair, but you know what? You can make it all okay by giving us your money.
You can make it all okay for us by heading to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns and make life a little fair for me and Jeff. And we'll, in response, we'll make life a little more fair for you. You will get access to a Discord of fellow concerned citizens. This is not like the regular people on the street. These are the good ones. These are the other ones that listen to the podcast. You know what I mean?
These are very, very intricately and meticulously selected humans that we have given us money, that has given us money, really. That's how we select them.
That's how we select them.
Great people.
It turns out, like, listen, if you were to draw a Venn diagram of great people to people that want to give us money, it's almost just a circle.
It's a circle.
It's almost just a circle.
What it is.
And I think it's just a matter of not enough people have heard of the podcast. It would be a total circle. You know what I mean?
If not, then there's a lot of terrible people out there, a lot more than we think.
In addition to the Discord, you can get access to early posts. You can get your episodes early. You can get bonus episodes. We're gonna have a bonus episode with Dr. Kiki today.
What?
Yeah,
that is the best thing you could possibly imagine. We got a special viewer submitted question just for Dr. Kiki that we're gonna ask her, and it'll be only for you if you are a patron of our show. So please visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/wehaveconcerns, and become one with the show.
I want to talk about CRISPR. It's been too long.
Oh yeah. Okay, CRISPR's back.
It's been a couple months. My skin is still not blue. I do not have glorious bat wings like I have wanted. CRISPR is a failure still in my mind. I don't have
get you those bat wings, bro.
I don't have night vision. I don't have night vision yet.
I think Kiki's scoffing at the idea of blue bat-winged Anthony Carboni, and it was something we've been working on. We've been theorizing and just kind of
writing letters in crayon. Dear science, here's what I want to look like.
Dear science, help me.
Here's what I want to look like.
And then
So
a
I'm
just
thinking
a screenshot from the television series Gargoyles.
I mean, it seems fair.
It seems fair. What is science for if not to give me
how
this?
How close is science to our dreams right now? Tell us.
On the CRISPR side of things, I don't think you're going to get those blue bat wings anytime soon.
Lame.
You will not be, it will not be guest starring on gargoyles. But from the prosthetic side of things, maybe, just maybe. I mean, if you could create some mechanical, electrically stimulated gargoyle wings, and then you could implant them. They're working on spinal implants that would control prostheses. So I think that from the prosthetic side of things, you might be able to get there faster. So it just depends which road you're on.
So
you could step off the CRISPR track and go there. But
we are equally open to both. We are both proponents of robot body and gargoyle body here.
Download my brain into a gargoyle body right now.
you could be gargoyle mecca.
I'm still against the download because I keep trying to explain to you the download is a copy. The original brain
but I
dies.
don't know that. I don't know that.
No.
The dead me doesn't realize it, and the alive me doesn't care.
Dead you definitely realizes it before he dies.
You don't know that. You don't know that I have a moment of realization when I'm being deleted.
That's the problem with that's the problem with the San Junipero track. Is the San Junipero track doesn't put the brain in a jar and save it. Brain needs to be put in a jar and save it. This is not what this week's story is about. This is an argument that we're going to have until the end of time. Let me show you. Listen, we just set your expectations very high. Here's what boring ass science is doing with CRISPR right now. UC Davis has just created a calf using CRISPR gene editing technology named Cosmo. And Cosmo is designed to produce 75% male offspring. He was genome edited as an embryo. And the idea is that male cows are more valuable to the meat industry than female cows. So,
boys making boys. He's a boy makes boys. That's what we found. That's what we're doing. We're not making wings or blue skin. We're making boys that make boys.
Boys that make boys that like
boys.
girls to do boys like their girls. Kids ask your parents about
cows.
Blur. But yeah, so the idea is we don't want a cow that can make 100% boys. We want a cow that makes 75% boys. We want a cow that's 75% boys. Because then we still have the females to mate with, but then the meat industry has all of their glorious male meats. They're 15% more efficient at converting feed into weight gain. So if you put a male cow in a tiny little pen and force corn down its throat, it's gonna get
meat.
It's gonna and just whisper to it, "Be meat." It's very quick.
And it works. And then it is
just be meat.
So my question is
hamburger.
My question is, are we gods? Are we gods yet?
If we were gods, I'd be able
We're
to see in the
only
dark.
human. That's exactly there.
We'd be able to see in the dark like I want without injecting dangerous amount of chlorophyll into our eyes.
And God said 75% boy cow.
Yeah, I mean, I think stuff like this is very interesting because as long as it stays within, say, the agricultural industry, then it's fine because it's helping feed more people and this is how it's working. But the issue is, okay, you can take this gene and knock it into a cow, but what happens when China decides that they want to knock it into all the new babies and then they want more male babies?
Or hey,
right?
What if we decide that everybody, like all the wealthy people in the U.S. get to knock it into themselves when they want to as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the first out of all the stories that we've covered about CRISPR. This is the first one that like gets my Gattaca sense tingling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is the first like designer baby one that I look at and I go, oh no, this one was done pretty easily compared to past methods. It was done pretty successfully, pretty inexpensively. This is the first one that makes me go, oh, they're going to try to do this in more places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that they've had relative success with this. And this is a mammal, a very a complex organism. This isn't just like a yeast cell, right? This is a very complex mammalian organism, and it's XY. This is the same as human sex chromosomes that they're dealing with. And if we could do this kind of gene editing modification in people, it could change the ratio of sexes overall.
And then we go to parties and it's all dudes. And no one wants that.
Let me tell you something. Most of the parties that I went to growing up were all dudes.
Yeah.
That's just...
I mean, nobody wants that. The dudes don't want that. The ladies don't want that. Nobody wants that.
This is one of those moments. This is one of those moments. Every couple weeks we have a Fratty Jeff moment, and I love when it comes out. I love when Fratty Jeff comes out.
There's no universe where 75% male in the world is a good thing.
What's interesting is I found some additional. Wired did a very in-depth version of this story where they followed the scientist around and did like a big feature piece in it. Yeah, it's really, really good. But what was really interesting is the process of knocking genes into chromosomes now. Like I remember like 2012, 2013 is when I really started hearing about this happening big scale into plants, right? And into plants with like a high rate of success. What I thought was interesting about the Wired article, about the Wired feature, is the hardest stuff that came up during this was not the process of knocking the gene into the chromosome. They had to try a couple different chromosomes to make sure that there was no negative effect to the rest of the DNA. But it was not hard anymore. The hardest things that they came across during this was it happened during COVID, right? So all of a sudden, veterinarians were less available. And not only were they less available, they were told to hoard their specific drugs just in case humans needed it because hospitals went through a shortage. So there were lots of things like sedatives and sort of like epidural things like that for animals that were being put aside because we might need them in emergency for people. So the thing that they were most afraid of was a complication in birth, not this weird genetic splicing that happened. Just it was a bad time to have a baby. And that really shows how far we've come in 7 years of CRISPR.
CRISPR, just the technology has moved forward so quickly, and they're making, they're adjusting it as they go, making it more specific. So there are fewer off-target effects, so that it is, you put in this SRY gene to affect male or femaleness, and it goes exactly where it needs to go in the chromosome more often. The methodologies are amazing, and where they are going to take us is wonderful. I think still, for the large part, we're more often going to be looking at CRISPR being used in drug development, in like big pharmaceutical companies, and really using CRISPR in the process of producing drugs more often than in this genetic modification of animals or people.
So in producing drugs, do you mean things like for clinical trials, like making sure specific animals or specific test subjects have a specific thing that they need to run clinical trials on? Is that what you're talking about? Or
so there is that side of it, but then there's also if you're the drug that you want to produce can be produced in bacteria, then you use CRISPR to be able to knock a gene into bacteria or take a gene out of bacteria that assists with that drug production. There are lots of places in the research funnel, in the research process, that CRISPR can be useful. I mean, it's really it's a tool. It's like a screwdriver.
Yeah,
right.
You can put together
IKEA for your genes.
Yeah, you can put together IKEA furniture with a screwdriver. You can murder someone with a screwdriver. It's just a tool. More often, it's used for the IKEA one. More often.
Do you even give any consideration to the moral argument of it, or do you see it really as this thing that's independent of morality. It is a tool, and it can be used in a variety of ways, just like Anthony's talking about, that any tool can.
I see it just as a tool. I see it. I mean, science in general is also it's a tool. It is part of the toolbox of how we look at the world, and this is a more specific tool within the toolbox. It's like you have a wrench that can unscrew take out a bolt on an engine, but maybe you have an Audi, and so you have to buy like the very specific hex wrench or whatever to be able to get a very specific bolt, and that's what CRISPR is within that toolbox. And I really think that the DIY bio movement is fantastic. Right now, there are groups of scientists in their garages, in their kitchens, using CRISPR to try and create a COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah.
That doesn't come from a pharmaceutical company. There is a movement right now of people trying to make it in their homes and trying to push the research forward. And it's because CRISPR is available to everybody as a tool. But at the same time, like everything, knowledge can be used for whatever ends a person wants to use them for. And so that's the perspective I take it. Let's try and educate people in ethics. Let's try and educate people in how to think about how to use these tools to better humanity and not use them in such a selfish way that they could hurt humanity.
Yeah, I think the two ways I see regulation and science being used the most are two ways that I absolutely abhor, which is number one, people who have not done the research over-regulating something before they understand what it is and kind of stifling research and innovation. And then number two, just patenting stuff running wild, just wild patents that lock things to specific corporations and specific uses. And those are kind of like the two kinds of regulation that I see. And I am more worried about CRISPR being over-regulated too quickly, or something being patented by some corporation and hid away or sold for a very high profit than, before it becomes useful. Is that like, I feel like that's a very real danger more than anything else, more than giving a human a third arm.
Yeah, but I think, the great thing is that CRISPR, there's been a patent battle for years between, I think it's Harvard and Berkeley, the two institutions that the research was first developed in. And I think it's come down to like Berkeley got certain aspects of one patent and Harvard got another, got some other patents. But for the large part, these institutions are making CRISPR available to people. So it's not being locked up by corporation, and it's out, and it's not going to be locked up by corporations at this point.
Could the results?
The good news about.
I'm sorry. I was going to say that. But could the results of something like this be like? What is the likelihood of UC Davis being able to patent this particular process within Cosmo?
Probably very high. Yeah, because they will patent the process to make it. And then somebody else, if they come up with a way of introducing a similar gene on a different chromosome, they can patent that process. Right. So, yeah. So the process for sure, they will patent.
Is that good or bad? Do we think? How are we feeling? How are we feeling about the fact that you can do this cow that make boy cow and like you got to pay UC Davis to do it?
Well, I mean, if you want more boy cows, you either have to go buy those boy cows or pay for the technology to make more boy cows.
I just feel like...
Which one is going to be easier for you as a company?
Yeah. I just think about Monsanto, right? And I think about things that farmers have been saying about Monsanto, where it's like, it's gotten to the point where like, if we don't buy Monsanto seeds, our crop yields are so low compared to other farmers and we don't make any money. And I'm just like, I'm wondering about what happens when this is patented and it's like, well, we got to buy this cow. We got to buy the thing that makes cow that do boy cow. We got to get cow that do boy cow. Otherwise we can't keep up and we can't make enough meat for the burgers that the people need. And then these people fall behind.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
People are going to be eating Impossible burgers all over the place pretty soon. It's going to be soy.
We're going to be eating
"No more
cricket
meat."
protein, baby. It's all cricket
They are
protein.
delicious. Well, I think the capitalist would tell you that the company doesn't come up with boy cow gene splice unless they have incentive to do the work to come up with that process. And the reason that they put in the work to come up with that process is because they have the potential to monetize it.
Sure.
So
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
it's complicated.
And listen, as long as you wear a mask, you can go to brunch. The governor said so. It's fine. Money is fine.
Nothing better at brunch than some boy cow. You know what I'm
I
saying?
just want some of that lab-grown boy
cow and eggs.
and I want to not wear my mask.
Nothing I like seeing on a menu more than boy cow and eggs.
Boy cow and eggs.
This is delicious.
But this process, though, just moving, I mean, this process is being used. I mean, when you think of it in terms of, oh my gosh, more boy cows for your boy cow and eggs.
More
on
boy
the brunch
cows for the
menu,
boy cow god.
Whatever. Right. But on the other side of it, researchers are using CRISPR and other gene modification technologies to use this very similar method to shift the sex ratios in mosquitoes.
Right.
In areas where mosquitoes are a problem, they're releasing mosquitoes that have genes like this, where they will, instead of having females, they will only have male mosquito offspring, so that then no mosquitoes are running around biting everybody.
Making people
And
sick.
also you can enjoy some delicious male mosquito and eggs.
Yeah.
That's if you want it.
You can taste the difference.
Yeah.
People say you can't taste the difference, but you can.
Boy mosquito and eggs. A good breakfast treat.
So, is it the use of it? And that use would be for public good, right? To try and decrease disease prevalence, because the mosquitoes they're getting rid of are disease vectors. So that's a public good. They're using the same technology. Is that ethically the same as boy cow for food? And then on the other side of it, with these genes, they're inserting it into for the cows, chromosome 17. Chromosome 17 is not one of the sex chromosomes. So it is not going to be passed along at basically like a 100% rate. So every generation, it's going to get bred out slightly because a fewer and fewer of those male cows with the SRY gene will exist to pass it on.
That just sounds
even though first you're producing more male cows, eventually the number that have that gene on that chromosome are going to go diminish. That
just sounds like planned obsolescence, though. That sounds like Sony wanting me to buy a new stereo.
You need our patented tech over and over again. Every 3 years, we release Boy Cow 95, then Boy Cow ME, and then we give you Boy Cow 10.
Boy Cow X. Yeah, but that's good in the case of the cows in agriculture, maybe that you want to keep those cows. Cows are not wild animals. They're not escaping and going and having more cows in the wild necessarily. Mosquitoes, however, if that's happening in the mosquito populations, eventually that modified gene is going to disappear from the population. So if you're not making a permanent change to nature, it's something that'll disappear over time. As opposed to a gene, there's a technology known as gene drive, which essentially means that a gene will persist. It has a drive to make sure it is continually passed down from generation to generation.
So after I
genes
pay,
that are modified with gene drive never disappear.
So after I pay for my beautiful blue night vision eyes, I can make sure that all of my offspring also have beautiful blue night vision eyes.
Forever and ever and
Amen.
ever with gene drive.
With gene drive. Gene drive, TM.
We got to get our hands on this gene drive. You know what I'm saying, Jeff?
This is also why we should really have actual scientists on the show, because I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yay!
I've come away less.
Bring in the info.
Yeah, I've come away less terrified than I normally come away. But isn't vigilant safety, Jeff? Counterpoint.
Yeah. And how can we be vigilant unless we have bat wings and blue skin
and
to
no
soar through
data,
the night?
no information. We always say on this show here, Kiki, that science is a feeling. Mm-hmm. And
that's kind of our motto here at the award-winning We Have Concerned Science podcast.
No, this is.
I'm actually heartened. I mean, I know you have a reputation for being, positive and a bright spot in the science community, and it bears out, and it is lovely to see. But I'm also heartened just hearing you in conversation here talk about how you look at the positive side of these things, and it is not. We often on the show are focusing on the
negative,
the terrible
dystopian
ramifications,
possibilities.
Yeah. I mean, you may have determined that from the title of our podcast, but I think we do have
we're realists. That's all. We're realists. I think it's science preppers. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
We're science preppers.
Yeah. I'm going to take all the science and I'm going to stick it away in a garage. Piles of the science.
It's all going to go down, and when it all goes down, I'll know exactly why.
But it's not prepping in any kind of tangible way. It's not like we're hoarding food or getting ready. It's really just emotional and psychological prepping is what it is.
Yes.
It's just steeling our minds for the inevitable disappointment that is coming.
But
today you have made us feel much better.
Ready.
Yeah, today you've made us feel much better. Thank you so much, Kiki, for being on the show. When can people watch This Week in Science? When and where?
Oh, yeah. You can watch This Week in Science live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and at our website, twist.org. If you go twist.org/live, that's where you can watch us live, Pacific time. But then you can also subscribe to the podcast because it's a podcast too.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
And if you want to hear more of Dr. Kiki Sanford with us, become a patron and hear our extra bonus episode where we're going to talk about some questions submitted by you, the listeners.
That's right. That's out today, and you can hear that at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. So I'm what? We're like 10 years away from Blue Wings? You're the science optimist. Is 10 years optimistic, or is that unrealistic?
The answer is always it's 5 to 10 years.
That's what I thought.